Hello, and welcome back in here to Wentzel's World. And so today I'm out here at the river, relaxing and waiting on hopefully the grass to dry where I could do some mowing on the yard. Maybe I can get a couple of hours of mowing in, maybe, if the ground dries before the rain comes this afternoon. So the weatherman, he's predicting rain, so as the old saying goes, time will tell. And today I got my Dr. Gray Bowl, and within the Dr. Gray Bowl we're smoking Carter Hall, and so both of these, the Carter Hall tobacco and this pipe, came from the West Virginia Smoke Shop, and so they sell Prince Albert and Carter Hall in ounces. So if you don't want to, if you never had it before, want to try it, or just want to have a little on hand, or buy some for a particular occasion, whatever it may be, you don't want to buy a whole big tub of it. You can buy it by the ounce. And so that's the only place I know of that sells Carter Hall and Prince Albert, and I think Granger. Oh, I can't remember what else, but I think those three things they sell in ounce. That any other place you try to get it, you only can get it in those tubs. So, and this here's Dr. Graybo. It is Dr. Graybo Omega. It's got it's a system pipe, and it's also a army mount. You can just break it down and stick it back in there. So anyway, that makes it pretty handy. But carrying it in your pocket, you can just break it down and put it in your pocket. Maybe you won't break it that way. Probably more apt to break it with it put together like it is. I need to try to get my little boat or chest waders or something other out here and try plugging along these eddies and bank line and rocks and stumps and things and see if I can catch something to eat. Because when I go fishing, I don't necessarily go for the sport, I go for the food. So, well, so how you doing? You got you a favorite pipe for this particular time that you're watching this, and got you some favorite tobacco? I tell you, last evening I had to stop into the grocery store. I reached over in that old big cardboard box and picked up a watermelon. That thing felt like it weighed 40 pounds. And so I got it in the refrigerator. And I'm looking forward to taking me a long bladed knife and cutting that watermelon open and eating some of that good sweet watermelon. Mm, I hope it's a good one. And you know something, you tell me why this is. I can't eat very much of the seedless watermelons. I don't know what it is about those seedless watermelons, but I can't eat very much of it. It messes up my stomach. So when I go to buy one, which costs $1 more, I had to get the old time seeded. So so why is that? You think? Is it because they modified those watermelons and it caused it to change something about it that it don't agree with me? I don't know what they've done. I see the benefit for folks that don't want to pick out seeds, but I grew up with eating seeds and watermelon. Of course, I spit the seeds out for the most part. Of course, some of them might get crushed up, or some of them might get swallowed whole. I remember my daddy or my mama, one, probably both of them. I think Daddy told us. He said, "Don't swallow them seeds now." He said, "You'll grow watermelons in your stomachs." Oh, but he didn't want to swallow the seeds. But anyway, of course, they just pass. But you get out and get to working somewhere or another. I know one time me and my daddy, we was roofing a man's house. And we was trying to figure out, how long we was going to be able to work that day. And I told him, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get me a watermelon and put it on ice. It's already cold, and put it on ice in a one of those ice chests. And just every little bit, I'd come down, and get me a slice of watermelon and go back up. And I tell you, on a hot day, you get hot and sweaty. You tell me what's much better than a good cold watermelon. Ooh wee. Mmm. Especially if it's good and sweet and juicy. Mmm. Get that watermelon juice all in your whiskers and just let it go. When you get through, get in there to some running water and wash it all out. Can't help but to get it on you. I was thinking about something other. You ever do painting with a broad brush? I've been guilty of painting with a broad brush. And more than likely, if you be honest, at least with yourself, you've been guilty of painting with a broad brush. I've heard people say something like, "Oh, them motorcycle riders, them bikers, they either heard something, saw a picture or a movie or something other that was negative about people that bike. And so they classify them all in one category. But you can't do that. Not everybody is a part of some rugged, you know, motorcycle gang. Hell's Angels. When I lived down in Tennessee, there was a group down there called Rolling Thunder. But you can't paint with a broad brush. I've heard people, they do politicians that way. We all been guilty of it. Well, them politicians, I know my mama used to say, well, they ain't gonna, isn't this how she put it now? They ain't gonna do nothing when they get up there. I said, Mama, yes, they do. That's part of the problem. They do something when they get up there. Sometimes it's for the good and sometimes it's not for the good. So, anyway, but you can't really paint all politicians. And if you want to make the differentiate between a politician and a statesman, okay, well, but you really can't paint that with a broad. I've heard people do churches that way. Well, that church is all out far as your money. So you've been into every church. You know what every church is about. Same thing about preachers. All them preachers, they just in it for the money. So you know every preacher, okay, that's alive right now on the face of this earth, all over the globe. See that broad brush paint? Do the same thing, about, you know, trappers. All them trappers, they cruel to the animals and things like that. And hunters, they shoot the poor deer and Bambi and do the same thing with policemen. All them policemen, and everything. Let me ask you a question. When you start putting policemen all in one category, do you know one? Who is your sheriff? Now, that is thinking locally and acting locally to vote for a sheriff. That's one office that is elected. And if you're not satisfied with your sheriff, vote against him. And if there's enough of them, of you ought to be able to vote him out. So, do you know your sheriff? Do you know your deputy? Do you know the state trooper works in your area? You see a state trooper parked a couple of times in a certain area in town, and he's either catching up on his paperwork or monitoring the speed or whatever, and pull over. If you got nothing to hide, tell him who you are, and things like that. And just chat with them a little bit. Get to know your local police instead of painting with a broad brush. All these police and they are. It's a good thing, to realize that you can't always judge a book by its cover. And it's good before you start passing judgment. And you do need to practice discernment. And before you start writing people off as this or that or passing judgment, walk a mile in their shoes. Sit down and smoke a pipe with them. Pull up a chair. Open up a keg of nails. And get to know them a little bit before you start passing judgment and painting with a broad brush. I don't know if y'all can hear the water over that shallow place. It makes the ripples. And it's pretty good peace over yonder. So I'm sitting here watching them. And if you look real good, if you looking around back in behind me, you might see a deer. Could see a otter, a turtle. Might see a beaver. Could see a mink. And who knows uh, what you call it, a turkey might show up. Squirrel and a heron. That's about what the live uh, wildlife is out here. I need to take me see if I can find me a rock that I can use for a weight. I just now thought about that. Because when you're working on a leather project, if you don't want it to move, especially if you got two pieces of leather that you're trying to punch holes in both at the same time, you need a little weight. Of course, I got some weights there at the house, but it's, I got a table I sit there and do my stamping and carving on. Then I got the cutting table. Then I got a working bench. And sometimes it's good to have a weight on all three. I've been looking around. It's hard to find uh, an inexpensive iron. The kind of irons they used to use to iron clothes with. They got a handle on them and they weigh a little something. They make good weights, but I don't know. I just sort of hate to pay, $35 for a weight. Of course, I could take me some leather and make me a bag and fill it full of BBs. That's going to give you a little weight, probably, 2 or 3 pounds of weight or something like that. A couple of pounds, pound and a half, whatever, according to how big you make the bag. I saw a hawk when I first came up out here. The wife seems to think she saw an eagle out here one day. That Carter Hall, it's got a good taste to it. There's nothing else quite like it. I run across something other day at an antique store. It was tobacco still in the original package. And I done forgot what it was. Can't remember. I want to say it was half and half, but I can't remember. I thought about buying it. I thought, hell, no, that's a half a tank of gas. I'll just pass it up. And they had a bunch of used Zippos in there. They were $10. I thought about getting one of them. I thought, well, I'll think about it. It ain't that far away. Pass through here again if I want to get a Zippo for $10 and hope it works. I mean, what can hardly go wrong with it that can't be repaired? So, and I guess if you mail it back to the Zippo place, they'll replace it or fix it or something. So, more than likely, just needs fluid and flint. And they had a whole bunch of Zippos. Now, if they'd had some Prince Albert in the can, I might have bought that. I don't know. Of course, more than likely it'd be dried out. You'd have to put it in a jar, put a piece of apple or something in there with it for a day and a night. Get it, moistened up again where it wouldn't burn up real quick when you're trying to smoke it. gonna get me a drink of this fresh spring water. Went to the spring this morning, got our drinking water for the week. Ah, boy, that hit the spot. Well, I'll sit out here a little bit longer, look and see what time it is, try to make some judgment about whether all the grass is dried up or not. Yeah, I know it's not, but we have some pretty good wind blowing at times. That helped dry the ground. If we had some wind and could keep the sun out, it pretty well dry it up by 11:30 or so, where I could get started mowing on it. A couple of hours maybe before the rain comes this afternoon. But if it does, I got some still working on the saddle. I need to put I need to wrap the leather around those swales up front. And tomorrow it's supposed to be dry all day, so it's gonna try and knock out the yard tomorrow. My wife, she likes to mow, so I let her get out there in front of the barnyard, and all she's got to do is go round and round and round. Then another little barnyard we got out and back there, same thing. All she ain't got no buildings and fences and trees and things to dodge. All she's got to do is just sit there and go round and round. So she run into the fence one time. So so to keep her from running into trees and buildings and posts, why I do all of that part and let her get the big part that there's nothing to dodge. So well, y'all have a good one. And in case anybody's wondering now, there was some of you that suggested I visit the Gatlin Burlier. And of course, I've been there before. Popped in there one day last week, and Michael's back behind the counter, and then here come Richard around. So stayed there about an hour in their smoking lounge, which consists of two stools that they got to sit on right there in the store where everybody's shopping. So anyway, spent about an hour talking to them over there. So anyway, well, until we meet again, be blessed.